And we're live on the Jeff Meacham Network. She made it. The traffic in LA is a bitch. We all know this. If you live in SoCal, you know it's terrible. Mariah, welcome officially to the Jeff Meacham Network. It has been way too long, girl.
You know what? It has. It's so good to see you.
It's wonderful to see you. I was so glad to see you pop up this like on my timeline talking about the show that's coming up here in a couple weeks, in next weekend actually. And I figured, you know what? Reach out. Let's see what's going on with my girl. So, what have you been up to? I feel like we've both flown completely off each other's radar in the last decade or whatever. So, what is I basically plug this as, you know, we've seen a lot of growth and development in the community in professional wrestling about awareness and acceptance of the transgender community. But this chick right here was the trailblazer, the pioneer, the very first one. If you go to her Instagram page, there's even a link in an article saying as much. And now it's so commonplace. But when you and I run in together and you were the Wild World Champion, it was, oh, no, taboo. So it's been a crazy more than a decade. And what have you been up to since then? My goodness.
So give me one sec.
All right.
So a correction. I am one of the first ones. I am the first one to to get attention and to go national, international, to do all that jazz. But I mean, there has been, there was a couple before me that just didn't get the attention.
Okay.
It could be for numerous reasons. I feel it's because of where I came from, how I came into the business, who trained me. That played a big part, on my career, with my career. But I mean, since the last time you guys seen me or you've seen me, I mean, I went through a lot, been doing a lot, like you said, growth, lots of changes.
Yes.
I left wrestling for a year. Oh my God. I left wrestling for a year. I came back. What else did I do? I mean, I've been living life, just trying to stay on the radar, with the growth of my community and professional wrestling. It's very hard to stay on the radar these days,
Definitely.
It's very, very hard. At first it was so easy, because I was, technically the first and the only, because, I was the only one traveling and whenever you heard of a trans wrestler, it was my name that always popped up. So now it's like my name is like the fifth, maybe the seventh name that pops up. You know what I'm saying? So
it's good and bad, right? I mean, it's like you set the tone. It's like, great, I did it, and now it's like I'm gonna have to. That's kind of shitty, but okay, cool. At least everybody else is getting working.
What's the trip is I was thinking, I was driving on my way here, on my way home. Actually, I was driving and I was thinking to myself about the trans women of the modeling industry.
Right.
And there was a female or a trans woman, years ago, before Top Model, any of these models that you know of today.
Right.
Before any of them were around, there was this other woman around. I can't remember her name. Patrice. Oh my God, I can't remember her name. I will post a link to her Instagram or something on my story. So
we'll get to that there once we're done. Absolutely.
Or my Facebook story. A link to her, because I've been following her for years. I just can't remember her name right now. I'm having a brain fart. So
trust me, sweetie. I turned 39 early last month. Like the brain farts are we call them senior moments for my ass now. So I feel like it's okay.
I have plenty of those. I have plenty of senior moments.
Major CRS.
It's when you're like one of the first, you're really the first to be forgotten. You know what I'm saying? So
I am so glad you phrased it like that, because when you and I were working together, I was also really still early into my just doing my thing over on No DQ, and like now the word podcast is a common thing, live streaming is a common thing, video. when we were doing that in 2004, and then when I hooked up with Travis to do Wild in 2000, like nobody else was doing that shit. And now it's like everybody's and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm still here 20 years later, just don't mind me over here in my little corner of the world. But I'm so glad you put it just like that. I feel like it was so silly. I felt like almost vain in the feeling, but when the ladies were on the biggest part of the stage there, the display stage at WrestleMania back in 2016, Travis and I went, it's kind of why we did this. Like, this is exactly because we like the women's divisions around the world are so like accepted, and they're pushed, and they're championed. And I think it's so wonderful. And God, they made it at Mania, and they consistently made it at Mania now, which I think is just awesome. And it's just like, I feel like in some really stupid, like vain, narcissistic way, it's like we were like thinking of that before anybody was, because nobody really wanted to focus on women's promotions as far as out here. East Coast, all over that shit. Like Shimmer and all them, they were all up on that. But out here on the West Side, there was none of that. And I feel like we helped. I mean, there were a lot of people on our roster, in and out, that are now working for WWE, AEW, and all them. And I'm just so thrilled. And I'm so, like I said, it was one of those where I was proud of you, and I had no reason to be, because like I didn't actually book you. That was Travis's thing. I wasn't involved in any part of your championship reign. I came in after that and actually was the helping with creative after that. But it was so awesome to see that it was starting to bubble. It's starting to go down that mountain and gather steam, because like I said, it's almost a common thing now. And like you said, you kind of got, you were the first, the only for so long. And now it's, like I said, good and bad. Very much good and bad that there's so much of it happening. But I'm honestly glad you're still working, which I think is wonderful. And I'm glad to see you at the Santino shows, which is, I think, you mentioned where you got trained and how that helped you be accepted. God, Joey and Sil and everybody, they're champions for everybody. I love those two to pieces. I always have. So it's wonderful to see Santino's back up and doing their thing. And I'm excited to be a part of it. Hopefully I'll get to go out there next Saturday, because as you know,
I hope so too. It would be nice to see you there.
It would. For me, I've been to exactly one dojo show, and that was when, okay, so put it this way. My son was about, you can't even see, we're about this tall, and he was all about Famous B. That's how long ago we went to a Santino show. We all had Famous B shirts on afterwards, the ugly yellow shirt that he had. And I haven't been out there to see, I've seen them occasionally, like I'll see them in other independent shows. I'll see them if they're at a convention or whatever, but it's few and far between. It's, as being a non-driver in SoCal is the absolute worst, and trying to get out to where they are is even more worse. So, but I do want to see you guys for sure. What is, besides being back home with Santino's, are you still kind of booked everywhere? Like where can everybody come see you?
You know what? Yes, I'm still available. I am a little more picky with the bookings that I'm accepting these days. Just because I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't think I have many more years left in me in wrestling. So I really don't want to waste anybody's time. I really want to make these last years of these last years of my career to count. Of course. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just work in some random place and never to be heard of again, or seen. I want it to make it count. I want the memories to last. I want to be able to build friendships with people that I'm working with. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're just working with someone once or twice, you kind of don't get to know you don't get to know these people. And I feel like that's what I'm missing in my life, my personal life, is that I'm missing bonds and friendships with people in wrestling. I try building friendships and bonds with people, but there's just always some disconnection somewhere. At some point, somewhere, there's disconnection. So it just kind of, I kind of steered away from that. And this was years ago. So I'm kind of trying to open back up and I'm opening up back up and meeting people, trying to, get back on the road. And hang out with people. But it's still a little difficult. You know what I'm saying? Because
Wrestling wrestling is definitely the hardest, especially if you're
yeah,
not on the road with these people 7 days a week or even five, like the WWE folks are, the AEW folks are. If you're not with them all the time, you go back to your corner of the country, your corner of the world, and you don't see them. You may get a phone number or an email or whatever, and you'll chat over social media, but it's not especially the last 2 years, I realized how important in-person things are. And like I said,
yeah.
the only person I see on the regular from the Wild Days, and that's because he happens to live relatively in the same county. It depends on what part of the side of the house you're on, but Travis, and that's it. And I have to make it a point because he's working a job that does not allow for socializing, nor do I. So it's just a matter of him being able to sneak out of the house pretty much and not have a work day to go down to Hollywood and go do something. But yeah, everybody else is working, they're doing their thing. And as happy as I am that everybody has the work and everybody has the money coming in, it's just like, yeah, my social circle sucks because I wrap my entire social circle within wrestling the last almost 20 years now. And then it's like, yeah, Aaron moved here and Travis, like nobody's here. So I totally understand the disconnect because I'm having to rebuild friendships I had in like high school and even junior high school because I'm still in the same city and I still see people. So totally can relate. It's
Yeah.
hard to be in-person long-term friends when you're in a nomadic business because we're always moving, we're always going somewhere. So it's a bitch. But
Yeah.
I know you and I have talked. You actually are still out this way. You're actually doing the 9 to 5 thing, which I find fascinating because I can never make myself do that. I tried. Lord knows I did
Well,
retail.
I mean, for me, it
So
works out because I do the 9 to 5 thing Monday through Friday. So it's a blessing that I'm able to get the weekends off. And
right,
I do work weekends. Don't get me wrong. I get called in. So,
of course.
and yeah, I get called in, which is not a problem. I don't have an
No,
issue with it. But
no.
that's if I'm not doing anything and if I'm bored at home, why not? I'm always okay with going to work. I like where I work. I really
Well,
do
right, of
love
course.
doing what I do. So and then the people, some of them make it that much better, to be around them and to be working
Yes.
with people who actually care about their job is the greatest feeling ever. And a
It's
few of them
definitely
do, they care. So it makes my job so much easier, but I really do like working and I'm able to get the weekends off. I work so hard so that my boss can understand that I really, really, really do want to deserve having the weekends off because everybody wants the weekends off, who doesn't? So to be able to
especially when
have
we
the
do.
weekends
Yep.
off for wrestling or to spend time with my family, because that's what I'm doing a lot these days. When I'm not wrestling, I'm with my family.
Yeah.
um it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
You hear so often in not just wrestling, but the entire world that families either accept all the way or they don't. And I think that I know you've been very blessed that you have a family that's been very accepting of who you are, who you've always known you were. And there was no, as far as I know, no bullshit about it. And I think that's so great because I have so many friends that I talk to on the regular that struggle every day. It's like I want to talk to my parents, my family, and they won't understand it. And I just like, you have to make sure that you are okay with you. And if you're not okay with you, then they're not going to be either. And I think that I have always felt, and this is me, 11 years down the line or however long it's been now, I've had the chance to interact with so many people, and you always, at least hourly and in front of me and in front of Travis and everybody else, always had your head on straight. You knew exactly who you were. You knew what you wanted, and you were not going to take anybody's bullshit. And if you didn't get what you needed out of whoever you were with, then on to the next. And I admire that about you. I always have.
No, exactly. And that has always been my thing, where I always felt like if you didn't like the way I am or who I was at whatever time of my life, you know what I'm saying? Then there's no reason why I should keep you around or even have your phone number in my phone or
Nope.
any of that. So But yeah, I am blessed to have my family accept me and support me um, throughout my entire life. I do have there is maybe one or two family members in my family, maybe more than two,
Mm.
that don't approve of my life or anything that I do. But you're not paying my bills, you're not paying my rent, you're not paying
Exactly.
you don't do anything for me. You don't even ask me how my day is.
Nope.
So what does it matter? What does it
Yeah.
matter?
It's you weren't around when I was dealing with, trying to figure out who I am or what I want to become. You're not going to pay to help me get to that point and, have me look as awesome as I look. Why bother dealing with your bullshit?
Exactly. But I will say that when someone transitions,
Right.
and they find themselves, or they're looking for themselves, or they're trying to figure out themselves, them as a person also need to understand that they're not the only ones going through this transition.
Yes, exactly.
Mom and dad also go through it, and theirs is extremely painful, when they don't understand. They're confused. So that's like the number one thing that I tell any of my sisters and my brothers. Like, be patient, understand the reason, try to figure out, or whatever it is that the reason why they don't like it, just understand that. That's your number one goal, is to understand why they don't approve. Okay. And then you need to understand how they were raised, how their parents brought them up, because it's a domino thing. You have to be the one to change that. Anybody, just not just my brothers and sisters, but anybody, you have to be the one to change that perspective with your offspring. You know what I'm saying? So it's very difficult, for my brothers and sisters to understand that, because when someone finds themselves or feels that they're headed towards a certain direction, they want nothing but the approval of their family. So when they don't get it, they don't see why.
There's a great,
it's completely painful, it's uncomfortable. So it's just, I try to get my brothers and sisters to understand that not everybody's going to be okay with it, whether it's in our personal lives or our work life, wrestling, anywhere, and we as a community need to understand that it's okay that not everybody is going to approve, because us as a community, we're not going to always approve of what others do and others say. It's
exactly,
which I'm okay with people saying what they want, feeling the way they feel, because I was always that way, and I got shut out for it, especially in the early years of my career. Like, I was very vocal. I was very vocal on social media, and people would hit me up and would be like, hey, maybe you should rephrase what you said, or maybe not speak as much. And Thunder Kitty was one of those girls, or one of those people that hit me up and was like, hey, you kind of want to like chill, you're gonna get heat. My attitude then was like, fuck them, who cares? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, girl, there you go.
Like, fuck them. I have my opinion. I'm gonna say my opinion. I want to be able to be free and speak my mind how I want. I was all for that. Especially women's wrestling. I was so vocal for women's wrestling. I hated that California never gave us a chance, or never, there was very few companies that focused on their women's rosters. And
which is what Travis and I mean, that was the whole thing. And we weren't fighting an uphill battle. We were fighting an up mountain battle. Like, it was a summit that we just couldn't climb. We just couldn't.
Yeah, well, it was so, and at that time too, there were so many women. It was just starting to like blossom, and it was perfect timing. It was perfect timing for more opportunity for the ladies. It eventually, it started to blow up, and companies were giving the ladies opportunities, and still to this day, we just had Goddess of Gore, which was an all women's death match tournament. That Goddess of Gore, Sage Sin, and her husband, they brought that,
Who's going to
they
be there
brought that to life.
Yep.
10 years ago, that was impossible. 10
no
years
way.
ago, I was part of, the first ever women's death match in the history of California, and that's against Mickey Knuckles. Let me throw that out there.
God bless Mickey. She was amazing too.
Yeah,
God almighty.
Right. So it's 10 years, here we are 10 years later, and it finally happened where we have a whole entire tournament, nothing but women on the roster. There was no men filling in or no men dressed in wigs or any of that, pretending. Nope. It was actual women.
Exactly.
So it just during that time, 10 years ago, 13 years ago, they just didn't give women opportunities that we have now, which it's amazing because my community has come so far in wrestling, and so has women's wrestling in the past 10 years. You see it from here grow, and because it was down here, I was always so negative. I hated everybody because nobody liked women's wrestling. Everybody would shit on it.
Exactly.
And on SoCal Uncensored, people would go on there and shit on the women's matches.
Oh my God, those SCU! Oh my God, those guys! I swear.
Yeah, I will say that some of us aren't the best, and mind you, during that time too, I was only a year in the business. A lot of us were very new, and those of us that weren't very new still only had the option of working women who were very new. So we were never able to deliver 5-star matches unless it was one of the more seasoned females wrestling a seasoned male. That was the only time a female's match or a woman or a match with the woman would be 5-star.
I was going to say that the most hardcore or most prevalent thing I can remember about a female in SoCal was Candace.
Yeah.
When her and Joey faced the Bucks, I mean, she was the bloodiest of the four of them, man. I mean, I have a pin somewhere in this closet back here of her and Joey with the crimson, and she's got the crimson mask, and it's like, that's what I remember about female wrestling here in California, especially here in Southern California. And like you said, there was no training. Like Joey and Sil have Santino's now. Jesse was training the girls kind of, sort of, but not all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't hear a whole lot about everybody else doing that. And I think it's bonkers to me. We were, but Dwayne, I'll get your super chat just 1 second. I did want to bring this up. We were talking about acceptance from families. There's a great quote I always refer back to when I'm talking about that type of thing from, I'm a dork, but Star Trek 6, the 6th movie. The Klingon chancellor is talking to Captain Kirk, and he says, if there is to be a brave new world, our generation is going to have the hardest time living in it. Our generation, our parents are so old school and raised so old school. They have, and it's not, they're not bad as a result of it. There's such a narrow tunnel vision of the world, which is why it's so refreshing, at least for me, to hear that your parents were on board with it. I know my parents are awesome as well. I just know some parents of our generation are definitely, and especially their parents too, much more stick in the mud, grounded in their values or whatever they deem values. So again, we have to be the voice of, hey, telling your kids, hey, this is how it really should be, or make your own choices, but here's our view. Here's the view we were presented. Y'all do what you need to do. My son is completely, I mean, you've met, my son's mother when, at the time, she's disabled. She's in a wheelchair, and she, had to have her own struggles. We all have the struggles that we have. And I think it's just so wonderful that my son can grow up in a world that there's so many different levels of acceptance compared to when you and I grew up, and especially when our parents and grandparents grew up. Such a different world.
Yeah.
All right. Dwayne has a very good question. I've always wanted to ask you this too, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. Thank you, Dwayne, for the $5, by the way, dude. You're just keeping me toward that $100. By the way, everybody out there, if you're watching on the YouTube, we appreciate it. And if we get $100 in super chats by the end of the month, we will be, God help us, doing a watch along of the pay-per-view Backlash coming up in May, because we're gluttons for punishment. But he says, how did the Bloodthirsty Vixen nickname and gimmick come about? He's always wanted to ask. So I know part of the story because, the worst kept secret in the business at the time was the Amanda name. It was like, geez. So where did that evolve into the Bloodthirsty Vixen and who we see before us today?
All right. So it's amazing that they asked this question because we are in the midst of California XPW, which is this Saturday, you guys, in Los Angeles, California. For more information, I don't know their website. I would send you guys there, but he will get that information for you in just a moment.
Working on it.
But I'm gonna say in 2009, I think was it, or 2010, XPW hosted their 10-year anniversary show in Hollywood at the world famous, now no longer standing, Arena nightclub. So the building's no longer there, but that building was like famous. But XPW hosted their 10-year anniversary show, and Amanda made her debut, and which is amazing, pretty cool too. Pay-per-view. That was like my first pay-per-view experience. That was part of the main event. It was Angel, the hardcore homo, versus Supreme.
Angel.
Rest in peace, the Human Horror Show. In the King of the Death match for the championship. It was myself and Crack that were with Angel. We came out with Angel. So what happened is I did some spots. I bled. I got my ass kicked.
There you go.
And after that, I wanted more. And this XPW gig was like, I don't want to say it was not necessarily a last minute booking type of thing, but it kind of was for me because I was so new. I was still so green. It was like my first year. I probably even less. No, yeah, I think it was within my first year and a half, maybe, of me being in wrestling. So I think it was 2009, I want to say 2000, because I made my debut in 2009. So it's 2010, 2009, somewhere around there. I made my in-ring debut in 2009, but I was a valet during that time, by the way. I was Angel's valet, but I got put through some tables with barbed wire and light tubes. And after that, I kind of wanted more death match, more hardcore, but I didn't get involved in anything like that till probably like a year or two later. So that's how I became bloodthirsty, because I was so thirsty for more deathmatch action. I wanted it, but nobody would give this trans girl the opportunity. You know, I don't know why. I think we all know why, possibly. You know,
right.
whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, you know, the way it happened the way it was supposed to happen, because I became the bloodthirsty vixen, and I love being bloodthirsty. I don't love blood in that sense. I don't drink cups of blood, for those of you that probably think that's what I do. It's just that I was bloodthirsty for so long. I wanted to draw blood. I wanted to go through tables. I wanted to put people through tables. I just wanted to do more deathmatch. I wanted to do more hardcore. And that was just my way of presenting that to the world. Does that make sense? I hope that answers your question. But
yes, Dane, thank you.
But there you have it.
I messed up. So I finally found the Twitter page. I didn't know Rob was up and running it. Good on Rob. I didn't even realize it was him. So okay.
Yeah, Rob is back at it.
Scary.
No, what do you mean scary? This is interesting.
No. Okay. I say it haha because I was actually at the last real XPW shows that were out here, and I remember it so vividly because March 1st, the second of the two nights, is my birthday. So nice. February 20th, March 1st, the My Bloody Valentine tour. God Almighty. I was at those shows, and the second night I took a super kick in the front row from our buddy Confederate Currency himself, Chris Hamrick. So had they made it past coming back from Pittsburgh without the feds showing up, it would have turned into something. I was told. So who knows what would have happened. But anyway, so Dwayne says, well said, thank you. Here's another great question, another $5. Thank you, Brendan. We appreciate
You're
the
welcome,
question.
Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you. Who are your biggest influences that got you into becoming a wrestler? I think I've asked you this before just in conversation, but.
All right. So I have several influences. And I will name them in the order. So
There you go.
When I first started to actually pay attention and watch it regularly, because every now and then I would come across a match or two. I was always intrigued. I always wanted to watch more, but I was never able to catch it religiously or regularly how I wanted to. I was a teen, all I wanted to do was have fun. So at 8 o'clock at night, I'm not even on my way home yet. I'm still with my friends having a great time.
Right.
So it just, it was very difficult, but I watched Jax. I already know who Sable was. I already knew who China was. I already knew who Miss Kitty was, Ivory, Jacqueline, Luna. I already knew who they were. But when I actually started to watch, it was, I watched Jacked. And I saw Lita and S.A. Rios make their debut. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I'm hooked. I need to watch this. So I was kind of like watching Jacked every Saturday because that was the only time I was ever home. Right. So I would watch it, I was a teen. That's so I wasn't at a bar, but I was,
of course,
at home waiting for Jacked. Then at some point I started watching SmackDown. I didn't have cable, so I couldn't watch Raw. At some point I started watching SmackDown and watching it regularly. Saw Luna a few times. Lita had just barely hopped on. But Lita was my first influence. Luna, I started to follow her career even after WWE and the Indies, because I didn't really know Indies existed until people started like posting or making websites, these .orgs of, these fan websites.
GeoCities.
Yeah, right. They were making like websites. So Luna,
what the hell are you talking about?
Right? Somebody had made Luna a website. They were posting all her appearances after WWE. So I kind of just kept up with her photos, and there weren't any video clips up at that time, but there was photos, and that was pretty cool to look at. So it would be Lita, Luna, Ariel. So we're fast forwarding a big gap.
Oh God, Shelly. Shelly.
Right? Shelly. When she made her debut, I was like, you know what? This was like the tipping moment for me where I was like, I have to do this. Like there has to, like, I have to start wrestling like tomorrow.
Right. I wish you'd been around toward the end, because we ended up bringing Shelly in. And had we gone forward with that, she would have been challenging Winter Cat for our championship.
Nice.
Do you know that belt is still at Travis's display case at his house? He's still got that damn belt. Yep. I saw, hand to God. I went up there and I'm like, every time I go up there, I'm like, come here. I miss, that's one of the few things I miss about actually being on the indies and actually doing stuff other than sitting here. I miss being part of a creative process. It just, it's got the neurons firing like crazy. So I do miss that. But anyway, yeah, he still got the damn belt. God bless him. So I found the flyer and I kind of messed with it a little bit on Twitter. There's the information for XPW. It's again this Saturday out in Pomona, which is not far enough out of the realm of possibility. However, I do have tentative plans, but I think I can arrange it. I mean, the fact that are you gonna be part of this show?
Unfortunately, not.
Okay.
Rob and I did, we did talk. We actually talked a couple times, but nothing was set in stone, just ideas and direction. But right now, like, man, I just want it to be known that if I ever jumped onto the XPW brand, a lot of people are going to not like me anymore.
Well, you know what? And again, I kind of said, oh no, about Rob being back. Let me just completely set the record straight right now, because when we went to the XPW shows, Team No DQ and I went to those last two shows, I was still not even at 6 months, not even 6 months into doing the podcasting side of this stuff. So I fresh out of fresh out of school, if you will, type thing, and I got to interact with Rob and Lizzie. God, Lizzie Valentine, Lizzie Borden is Lizzie Valentine. Wow, sorry, Lizzie, wrong Lizzie. Okay, so Lizzie Borden actually was very nice. I had a pretty decent shirt on after night 1 and then night 2, and I helped unfurl the little mat that went underneath the ring there, that god awful paintball arena that was the Isoplex many years ago, and got my shirt so ruined. She gave me like half the merchandise stand. Like, here, please, I feel bad because your shirt looks like shit. So they were both very nice to me. It was just at that point, Shane was pretty much booking, and it wasn't like Rob was in 100% control. So the stigma now with Rob is, oh, they were fair. And it's just like, you know what? The wrestling side of it was fun. Like, I enjoyed watching XPW on TV. Chris Kloss is a maniac. I love him to pieces. I always have, and I enjoyed his commentary. Hell, one of the shows I did with Wild after you had moved on, or maybe you were. I don't remember if you were still there or not. But when the night Lucky O'Shea became champion in that 3-way triple threat match over at the Fit Pit, Chris and I were on commentary. So I got to call a match with Chris Kloss. That was just another moment. So I enjoy the XPW brand. It's just I didn't even know they were still going to be relaunching. I had no knowledge of this. So I'm so glad you made me aware and made my audience aware, because yes, there is that dark side of the ring thing that's out. But you know what? If you're passionate about going up with XPW, I say fuck the people that are going to give you shit for it. So,
man, well, see, I'm a big fan. I'm a big, huge fan of controversy in professional wrestling. Like, yes. I want sex scandals. I want drama. Oh my goodness, how can I say, like, I just want vulgarness in the ring. I want to be like, oh my God, yes, like like I miss all that, and I feel like XPW can bring that,
Right. And the thing with Rob and the XPW is now it's all out there. So he doesn't have to give a shit anymore. He doesn't have to like worry. It's like, that the other side of his business is what it is. It's gone.
Well, so that's why I said that, like if I were to jump on, and work with them, I feel like I would lose a lot of respect because of the ideas that were thrown out there.
Well, of course.
Were ideas that, people wouldn't probably approve, but someone like me, because I have a dark sense of humor, right. Or you know what I'm saying? Yes. I like the drama, like, yep. He has a brain for that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So yeah. I feel that we would, oh man, how do I say this? We would freaking, people would say we would take wrestling backwards, but in a sense we wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? It's going back to the way wrestling used to. I would like for it to go back in a sense of the way it was, where we're getting all that juicy.
The only way it goes backwards is if it's hooked up with the porn company, which it's not. That doesn't exist anymore. So for me, I think
you know what? Imagine if it was, and I jumped on with XPW and it made my porn debut soon after that. Like
I'm blushing now. Okay. This is a whole different direction.
I mean, everybody thought that was the direction I was going with when I launched my OnlyFans, during quarantine. And let me make something clear. I launched an OnlyFans only so I could survive during quarantine.
Thank you.
Okay, because nobody was sending me no stimulus checks.
It's just one of those. It's 2 years is a long time to not have steady work, either in real life or in wrestling. So you do what you gotta do, girl. But I will give XPW massive praise for mainly for two people. Joey Chaos, who without XPW and putting him out there, I think in the conscience we wouldn't have Santinos necessarily. Maybe, and of course Supreme, because he and Supreme were their family. So and then Ryan Katz, who is just one of the most underrated, underappreciated people for my money in the business. I'm so glad he and Brian are going to have a podcast because that's going to be some fun shit to listen to. I'll tell you what, him and Road Dogg, just, yeah, I'm here for that shit. But we will see Mariah out at Santino's show coming up a week from Saturday. That's out in, how do you say that damn name of the city?
That is Belgarden. No, is it Belgarden?
No, it's
that
Cudahy or
Cudahy.
Cudahy. Jeez, I can never say the friggin' name of that city. Save my life. Cudahy, California. Google Maps is your friend, kids. I don't know how to get there myself. I like I took the bus there once. But yeah, you guys have a lot of people stacked up for this show, and there's a lot of cool people on that show. I was looking at XPW. There's a lot of people on the show Saturday, and I guess they announced that they're going to have their first ever women's champion, which is so ironic with Rob having XPW women's champion. But it's going to be Taya. So Taya's another one of those that doesn't take any bullshit. So I'm happy for her too. But I am. Definitely, please, everybody get out there. 2 Santino's coming up a week from Saturday.
Yes.
7 o'clock, local time, not Eastern, kids. 7 o'clock out here in California, out of the Clara Sports Park on Clara Street. Very simple. It's $15. Like for an indie show in California, $15 is nothing. So please get out there and support.
Especially for the kind of action that Santino's brings. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
it's very,
exactly.
Not every show has a main event throughout the entire duration. It's like every single match on that card is a main event, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Where are you ever going to see me and Delilah Doom in the same ring? Me and Delilah Doom have never been in the same ring.
Which surprises me, honestly. So that's cool.
And then so it's me and Delilah Doom tag teaming, against Sage Sin, which is one of my arch rivals.
Love Sage.
And then also Auntie Heidi, another one of my little rivals. So this is the first time tag team matchup, which is super, 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 super interesting. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Every time I'm at a Santino show, I feel like it's my WrestleMania, because it's exactly where I started. It's where I started. So to always be back there.
Here you go. Here's the card. So we got Ray Rosas defending the championship against Shea Cabrera, which those two are going to tear the house down.
Yeah.
Slice Boogie, who we've seen on other shows here on the Indies recently and on TV. Love Slice against Haas Hogg, who Haas Hogg is definitely one of the students. He's literally grown up in that warehouse. God bless Haas.
Yeah.
Cam Gates versus Dom Kubrick. Eli Everfly, another guy we've seen do forever against Alonzo Alvarez. You mentioned your match, you and Delilah against Sage and Sage and Supreme, which I think is a cool tribute. She put a tribute to Supreme. I thought that was cool. And Auntie Heidi, and then Alec Thomas versus El Primo. Oh Lord have mercy. El Primo Ennio Tribeca. I'm gonna fuck that name up. That's okay. Versus Biagio. God, phonics is not working. But anyway, that's all coming up on Saturday the 16th. And again, now his tickets are $20. So make sure you guys keep that in mind. So it's 20 now, not 15. So
let me tell you guys to search every single one of these people in that show. All of them. I shit you not. From Slice Boogie to Primo Henio, Tribeca. Every single one of those guys, amazing in the ring. And some of them are not, some of them are newer to the game, but they're completely amazing talents. Like, oh my goodness.
Slice got booked.
Dom Kubrick, you guys.
Okay.
Search Dom Kubrick on YouTube or wherever it is that you like to watch your wrestling, and watch his stuff. He's so freaking talented, and he's such a respectful, quiet individual backstage. So when you see that in-ring work, you're gonna be like, whoa. Let me see who else is on there. We all know Slice Boogie. You guys all know who that is. He's freaking amazing in that ring.
If you watch NWA the last
for the ladies,
2 years, then
I'm sorry.
I say if you watch NWA the last 2 years, you've seen Slice Boogie just doing Slice Boogie things.
There you go.
But yeah, Eli Everfly. I remember Eli working, helping set up at Battleground. And now he's just, dude's amazing.
Yeah,
he's just amazing. So.
Eli Everfly, in my opinion, is one top or is a top name in California now.
Absolutely.
And it took him. Oh my goodness, it took him what takes most decades to do. To gain
Right?
that type of notoriety or even respect. He's an amazing talent. We all know he is the business. He's 2 thumbs up, Mr. Eli. But I mean, everybody on that show, they need to, you guys need to follow them. They're all great people, great talents. Auntie Heidi, I always love working with her.
Right?
She's crazy.
She's a trip. I love her. She's
fucking
great.
crazy. Like, excuse my language, but
when she does that primal, you're on my channel. You're good to go, dog.
Face, that primal scream in your face is like, whoa, it's chilling. It's chilling. And every time I'm on a show and she's in the ring and I'm backstage or wherever it is that I'm at and I hear her scream, it just sends chills down.
Where you are,
because it's so loud. It's so loud.
So just an update. So general admission's 20, third row's 25, second row's 30, and front row's already sold out. And we have a week to go. So good on Santino's for selling out front row. So
yeah, I mean front row.
So yeah.
You know what? Man, I need to start letting they need to how much was front row?
Front row was $35 plus the fees on Eventbrite, but yeah, $35.
Well, they need to rake up the price to let me see, to $65. Everybody who purchases a front row ticket gets to spank my ass as I walk down to the ring. There
you go. That's it. Well, just mention the code Jeff Meacham. You might get a little bit of shade, but that's okay. We'll talk. But again, that's on the 16th. XPW's this weekend. I am so glad I reached out. We'll definitely have to talk off air once we cut the camera here for everybody else. But thank you, my friend. It's been way too damn long. I will do everything I can to get to Santino's because, like I said, I always had a good time going out there and seeing everybody. It's just the logistics thing. But I will do everything I can to be out there. Thank you, Mariah. Again, coming up tomorrow night here on the Jeff Meacham Network. Lord help me. Open mic night's coming back because I'm a glutton for punishment. Anybody's welcome to come on in there and talk about all the news in wrestling right now because Lord knows there's a lot of it, especially yesterday. Lord geez. And we'll get into that on tomorrow. And then next week, right here on the show, we're going to bring back, I should say, the daughter of WWE Hall of Famer Tito Santana, Jenny Santana, but she has promised me that she's not coming alone. She's going to bring members of the roster from UWW, which again has their card set. If you go to their social media, they have their full card set coming up for late May. So check that out next week. And of course, we'll be back next week with our usual, Ask the Dads, Talk Wrestling, the Greg Cherry Show, all that nonsense. So for the bloodthirsty vixen, Mariah Moreno herself, I am the West Coast Professor Jeff Meacham. This has been One-on-One with Jeff Meacham, and we will see you guys